Signed in the summer of 2020, despite having won the Champions League, Super Cup and Club World Cup, on an individual level, Hakim Ziyech has had a less than impressive time at Chelsea. However, with the Blues looking to sell him for just £8 million, could he be a potential value for money alternative to Antony? Have Chelsea officially entered the race for Frenkie De Jong? And what is the early team news we have for our game against Brighton on Sunday? Well, let's discuss all this in the latest episode of Transfers FC. But let's start off with that Hakim Ziyech transfer. Before the summer transfer window had begun, Manchester United knew that we needed a right winger. And with that, Ten Hag identified one of his former right wingers in Antony. However, with Ajax having set a €100 million price tag on him, Ten Hag and Manchester United were forced to look elsewhere. And looking elsewhere, it looks like Ten Hag has identified another one of his former players. As according to Santi Arona, Hakim Ziyech is now a priority target for Ten Hag. And with the Daily Mail suggesting that Chelsea are willing to let go of Ziyech for just £8 million. Could the signing of Hakim Ziyech be a brilliant value for money signing? Well, before we discuss whether if Manchester United should sign him, let's discuss a bit more about Ziyech as a player. Ziyech is now a 29-year-old Moroccan right winger for Chelsea, who had predominantly before played as an attacking midfielder. However, in the latter stages of the career, as he's matured into an inverted winger on that right hand side. And as an inverted winger, his main characteristics are that he likes to beat his man with his dribble, combine with his fullback, or cut inside and provide shots and crosses. And if we look at his time at Ajax, he was quite prolific at that, as in the 163 games at Ajax, Hakim Ziyech had 50 goals and 83 assists. And if you think those numbers are impressive, wait for his stats under Ten Hag, as under the stewardship of the Dutchman, in his first full season he combined for 45 goals and assists, and in his last full season under Ten Hag, in the COVID year where Ajax could not play after February, Hakim Ziyech still had 29 goals and assists in that season. And if you're looking at those numbers right there, they suggest that Hakim Ziyech was one of the best right wingers in all of Europe. However, with that being said, what would Ziyech's role be at Manchester United? Well, with Manchester United having paid £72 million for Sancho and him coming off an impressive pre-season tour right now as a right winger, I think the fact that Ziyech has not had an impressive time at Chelsea so far, I think if we were to bring him in for £8 million, he would initially start off as a backup option, and a much needed backup option, as if we look at the backup options that we have, if Jadon Sancho was to get injured or was potentially had to move to the left hand side again, it doesn't look good, as if that was the case, Manchester United's current backup options are Anthony Elanga, Amad Diallo, and potentially even Tahith Chong. And if we're looking at those options right there, they're just simply not good enough if an injury was to happen to Jadon Sancho. So the arrival of someone like Hakim Ziyech would be much needed and much appreciated, especially with the fact that the other right winger that we were talking about was Antony. And with his club of Ajax having put that €100 million price tag on him, that meant that Manchester United had to pay upwards of £80 million for him. And there's no way on earth that Antony is worth 10 times the price of someone like Hakim Ziyech. So, with all that being considered, the fact that Ten Hag knows Hakim Ziyech, the fact that he was an elite right winger under him, the fact that he can offer squad depth, I think the signing of Hakim Ziyech for just £8 million is an absolute no-brainer for Manchester United. But as per usual, lads, let me know your thoughts on the potential signing of Hakim Ziyech. Do you think for £8 million he is an absolute no-brainer? Or would you want Manchester United to spend the big bucks on someone like Antony? But swiftly moving on, now let's move on to that Frenkie De Jong saga, as it looks like Chelsea might now officially enter the race for him, as according to the highly reliable David Ornstein, Chelsea are now in direct contacts with Barcelona for Frenkie De Jong. Chelsea FC are optimistic about striking a deal and are hoping to beat their domestic rivals, as Manchester United are in a contest as well. Chelsea FC have now officially entered the race for Frenkie De Jong, and this isn't good news for Manchester United. As I've previously told you, if Frenkie De Jong was to leave Barcelona, he has always said he wants to be playing in the Champions League, and with Chelsea being in the Champions League and us being in the Europa League, I think it might be time to panic for Manchester United. Well, hold on Pav, I don't think it's time to panic yet, as David Ornstein confirmed. This news refers to them striking an agreement between the clubs. The player side is a totally different matter, although, as far as we know, Frenkie De Jong's preference is still to stay at Barcelona. This is a messy situation, with Fabrizio Romano confirming this news, as he said that Todd Boehly and Thomas Tuchel are in love with Frenkie De Jong. But again, Chelsea will only move in if Frenkie De Jong does give the green light. And as of today, Frenkie De Jong insists that he wants to stay at Barcelona. Chelsea will be on it if Frenkie De Jong does decide to leave Barcelona. He is not taking a wage cut, but Barcelona cannot continue on the current wages. Barcelona are open to selling. As David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano confirmed there, Chelsea FC are ready to officially enter the race for Frenkie De Jong, but only if he does give the go-ahead that he wants to leave Barcelona. And there's a reason why David Ornstein said this is a messy situation. Barcelona owe him £17 million. Frenkie De Jong wants that £17 million, but he also does want to stay at Barcelona. But on that wages and on the £17 million, Barcelona can't afford to pay him that. So, all round, this Frenkie De Jong situation looks really messy. But moving on, let's move on to some early team news for our game against Brighton on Sunday. In Erik Ten Hag's first official game at Manchester United, we play Brighton on Sunday, and it looks like we have some positive team news for that game, as according to Laurie Whitwell, Jadon Sancho has returned from his illness. Jadon Sancho is back, and Jadon Sancho will be playing on that right hand side against Brighton. Well, that is not the case, as Laurie Whitwell confirmed Anthony Martial is set to miss Manchester United's opening game of the season due to a minor hamstring issue. And with the Telegraph confirming this following Anthony Martial's injury, it looks like Erik Ten Hag is more likely to involve Anthony Elanga against Brighton instead of Cristiano Ronaldo. But that would mean that Marcus Rashford will start as a centre forward and Jadon Sancho on the left. Oh my goodness me, after the pre-season Anthony Martial has had, this is not what he currently needed. And as Cristiano Ronaldo has only played 45 minutes in pre-season, he just simply isn't fit enough to play the game against Brighton. So that does mean that it most likely means that Anthony Elanga will be playing on that right hand side for Manchester United. And as I told you for that Hakim Ziyech transfer, this is why Manchester United should be after him. It only took one injury for Anthony Martial for Manchester United to go and start Anthony Elanga again. And imagine instead of starting Anthony Elanga in this game, Manchester United had someone of the quality of Hakim Ziyech to play there. But with that being said, that was the latest episode of Transfers FC, and if you did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Go down there and smash that like button for your boy. Consider subscribing to my channel, as we are now on the road to 1,500 subscribers. And with the news that Chelsea have entered the race for Frenkie De Jong, hopefully that wakes up Manchester United. But with that being said, for now guys, I'm out. Peace.